Hello and good evening, friends, and welcome to the Week 15 edition of TXN Sports World NFL Friday. I am your host, Anthony Florio. I am Jacob Bullock. We are awaiting the presence of good old MF Michael Fletcher. MF just messaged us a little while ago stating that he is running a little late, and he advised to start the show without him. And he'll be with us in a little while. And as soon as he comes in, we will catch him up on what he missed. But for right now, Bullock and I will run the show until MF joins us. So with all that being said, let's dive on in. Of course, week number 15 of the NFL season started last night. And oh my goodness. Oh, you want to talk about an absolute dud of a game and a delicious squash, if there ever was one. Man alive. The Los Angeles Chargers and the Las Vegas Raiders, they played on Thursday Night Football last night at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, the home of Super Bowl 58 in 2 months' time. And it was the Las Vegas Raiders who won the game by a score of, listen to this, 63-21. Unbelievable. And these 63 points, they don't, despite putting up only 378 total yards of offense, did the Raiders. I mean, I think a lot of these were off of turnovers and whatnot. But for the Las Vegas Raiders, Aiden O'Connell, 20 of 34, 248 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Jacoby Myers even threw a touchdown pass. White had 69 yards rushing and a touchdown. Bolden, 25 yards rushing and a touchdown. Devontae Adams, 101 yards receiving and a touchdown. Tucker had 2 touchdown catches, 59 yards. Michael Mayer, my old friend from Notre Dame, had a touchdown reception of his own, 39 yards. Jacoby Myers also had a receiving touchdown. Kuntz had 2 sacks. And Jerry Tillery, another Notre Dame guy, he had a sack. They had a total of 3 sacks. And Jones had the interception of Easton Stick. Of course, the sad news for the LA Chargers this week, Justin Herbert, he's done for the season after suffering a finger injury in their loss to the Denver Broncos last Sunday. He's done for the season, and it is now Easton Stick's team. And Easton Stick, I'll tell you, Easton Stick had a solid game last night, not overly bad at all. He went 23 of 32 for 257 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he threw an interception. Spiller, 50 yards rushing to lead the team. Joshua Palmer had a nice game receiving, 4 catches, 113 yards, and a touchdown. Johnston had a receiving touchdown, and Erickson had a receiving touchdown. Kendricks had a sack for the defense, and that is that. So Raiders improved to 6-8 on the season. The Chargers dropped to 5-9. The Raiders, next up for them, Christmas Day, when they square off with the Kansas City Chiefs to kick off that big Christmas Day triple header, whereas as they will square off against the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium, 1 o'clock. Again, there will be simulcast on both CBS and Nickelodeon. As for the Los Angeles Chargers, they dropped to 5-9. And next up for them, a special Saturday night game that will be exclusively on Peacock next Saturday night. And it doesn't get any easier for them because guess who's coming to town? Guess who's coming to SoFi next Saturday night? Your Buffalo Bills. So we'll see what happens with that. And of course, Buffalo, of course, involved in one of our big games of the week. So we'll get into that later on. But my goodness, I mean, what a difference, 4 days makes? I mean, 4 days before, the Las Vegas Raiders had a home game against the Minnesota Vikings, and they lost to the Minnesota Vikings 3-0. We haven't had a score like that probably since that infamous snowplow game in 1982 with when Bullock's Patriots beat MF's Dolphins. even though neither were born yet, but still. But I think there might have been a 3-0 game since then. I think it was that Dolphins-Steeler game back in, I think it was 06, I think ended 3-0 or something like that. But we don't often get 3-0 games, but we had one. And that Raider team on Sunday looked absolutely out of sync and lethargic and the whole nine. But they went from getting shut out to lighting up the Charger defense for 63 points. That's not an NFL score we witnessed last night. That was a college score, to be honest with you. And what an outstanding performance by the Las Vegas Raiders. A defense that forced, I believe, 5 turnovers last night and just absolutely pounced on the Chargers and dominated that game wire to wire, start to finish. It was 42-0 at the half. And then the second half was a little more exciting. I mean, both teams put up 21 points each, but 63-21. My goodness, unbelievable. A very impressive performance by the Las Vegas Raiders, and that will definitely give them some confidence and make them feel good about themselves going into that big game on Christmas Day against Kansas City. So, wow. Color me impressed. I don't impress easy, but my goodness, that was one hell of a performance by the Las Vegas Raiders last night. So not much more for me to say on this. Michael Bullock, come on in. I mean, you believe that? I mean, the Raiders lose 3-0 at home to Minnesota in an absolute dud of a game, a zonk game. It was a zonk game more than anything else. And then last night, they go from scoring 0 points 4 days prior, and then last night, they lit up the Chargers for 63. Are you sure that was an NFL team or a college team? They damn sure played like a college team last night. My goodness.
Yeah, but I think it's also just a sign of the hard times going on with the LA Chargers. I mean, 1 week this Raiders team go from scoring, no points at all to 63. I mean, holy smokes. I mean, you want to talk about an absolute turnaround here, and that's exactly what we saw with this Raiders team. And unfortunately for the Chargers, their big time loss it caused some casualties. The head coach Brandon Staley got fired, and so did their general manager. And there were some other coaches who got fired too. So I think this is the ultimate sign of changes coming the way for the LA Chargers here. So yeah, I mean it's tough, but who knows for the Raiders? I mean, if they can finish the season strong, maybe they can take something going into next season. Who knows? But a very impressive win for them. So yeah, so there's really nothing more to say except let's get on to the rest of Week 15, which actually starts tomorrow.
In a big time way, Michael Bullock. Not 1, not 2, but 3 games. We got ourselves a triple header tomorrow, friends.
A triple header and all on the NFL Network.
All on the NFL Network, indeed. And we're going to start it off with the game that will kick off at 1 p.m. tomorrow. Big game on the other side of the ledger. You could consider this the number 2 game, if you will, for the other side, not our side, the other side. Big game here. Big playoff implications for both teams in this one, as it will be the Minnesota Vikings squaring off against the Cincinnati Bengals. Paycor Stadium, formerly Paul Brown Stadium in Cincinnati, on the NFL Network. And listen to this announced team calling the game here. It's going to be Chris Rose, Jason McCourty, Bullock's old friend, and Steve Weish. Steve Weish will serve as the sideline reporter. Cincinnati opening up as a 3-point favorite. And the series history between these two is tied 7-7. Their last meeting was in Cincinnati 2 years ago in 2021. and Cincinnati won the game 27-24 in overtime. Last time the Vikings beat the Bengals, it was in Minnesota in 2017. They blew them away 34-7. The Vikings have not won in Cincinnati since all the way back in 1992. A 42-7 beatdown at the old Riverfront Stadium there. So let's start it off. And we have a new feature that we're going to be adding starting this week. And it's going to be called What's at Stake? And what's at stake means playoff percentages. I'll explain when we get there. But you know how we always do it. Our the storyline to watch, our bold prediction, a stat to know, the X factor, what's at stake, the fantasy, the betting nugget for all you gamblers out there, the FPI percentage, and of course our our score prediction and who will win. So here we go. Quarterback Jake Browning and the Bengals offense, coming off back-to-back wins, will have to contend with one of the best defenses in the league at this in tomorrow's matchup. Over the last 8 weeks, the Vikings lead the NFL in fewest points allowed per drive at 1.4 and fewest points allowed a game at 15.3, largely because of a very strong red zone defense. Vikings tight end TJ Hockenson will catch at least 8 passes. The Bengals defense has allowed more receptions, 88, and yards, 935, to opposing tight ends than any other team. And Hockenson leads the NFL in catches by tight ends, 85, and is second in yards at 839. Some of that production has been the result of receiver Justin Jefferson's injuries. But even with Jefferson back on the field in Cincinnati, quarterback Nick Mullins will still consider Hockenson a primary target. The Bengals are 4-0 against NFC teams this season and have won 8 straight against the NFC, which is tied with their division rivals, the Baltimore Ravens, for the longest active win streak against non-conference opponents and tied for the longest streak in franchise history, also 8 straight from 2004 to 2005. The X factor is Vikings linebacker Ivan Pace Jr. The undrafted rookie has played 100% of the Vikings' defensive snaps over Minnesota's last 3 games and is delivering. He ranks 7th in run-stop win rate, 40% this season, among linebackers and has 2.5 sacks, an interception, and a forced fumble. Now, here comes the what's at stake. In one of the biggest games of the week in terms of playoff swings, the Bengals can improve to a 35% chance to make the playoffs if they win. But a loss shrinks their odds to 10%. The Vikings, meanwhile, are chasing an NFC wildcard spot and are still alive in the NFC North division race. They would have a 79% chance to make the playoffs and a 21% chance to win the division with a win. But those numbers will fall to 51% to make the playoffs and only 8% to win the division if they lose. Fantasy managers should have confidence in Hockenson this week. There's no defense in the league that gives up more fantasy points to tight ends than the Cincinnati Bengals. Vikings are 4-0 against the spread in their last 4 games as an underdog. Cincinnati opening up as a 57% favorite, according to the FPI. Well, 56.5%, but we rounded up to 57. So it's a 57% FPI for the Cincinnati Bengals by an average of 2.2 points. I'm going with the Cincinnati Bengals to win this game. I agree. My final score, I'm going to say 24-17. Cincinnati defeats Minnesota and keeps their hot streak going. So, not much more to say here. Michael Bullock, I mean, wow. We thought once Joe Burrow went down for the season and when it became Jake Browning's team, we thought this team was doomed. We thought this team was going to be possibly go back to being the Bungles again. But no, Jake Browning over the last couple of games has actually played very well. And who knows? Can he keep it up against Minnesota in the number 2 game of the week for the other side of the ledger?
Yeah, or as the great Lee Corso would say, not so fast, my friend. I mean, just when you thought the Bengals were done, they ain't done yet, because Jake Browning, I mean, what can you say? I mean, he stepped up when they needed him to, and they're still in the playoff chase. So they still got some work to do, but a win here over the Minnesota Vikings, would definitely go a huge way into determining whether they make the playoffs or not. So, yeah, this is a big test for them, and I think they'll pass it since it's in they're at home for this one. I mean, if this was in Minnesota, I probably would go with the Vikings, but it's in Cincinnati, and I just like the way I've seen Jake Browning play. So I'm actually going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals to win this one as well. So, and on that note, Florio, we do have good old MF Michael Fletcher here with us. So we only got to catch him up on just this game here. That's pretty much it.
And also get a quick
And
thought
get his
from
thoughts on
MF
Thursday Night
on
Football. So Fletch, you really didn't miss that much.
no MF. You didn't miss much, like Bullock said. We're only into our first game pick of the week, but before we get into your thoughts on Minnesota and Cincinnati tomorrow, how about that massacre in Vegas last night? Oof.
It was absolutely devastation. I'll say this: if anybody was looking for a defensive struggle, I know the over/under was at 35. You did not get that at all. The Raiders came out. They were playing mad. They were playing hopping mad. They knew that they had some quote unquote fresh meat that they needed it to do, and they handled their business. That's exactly what it was. They handled their business. They played the way that they needed to play. They were at home. You know, they were embarrassed about a week ago because they did not even score any points. And by the end of the night, we looked at the Raiders and we were like, wow, amazing. And on top of that, they now put themselves in a very good position because with that 63 points, that's the second highest point total of the season. The only other was the Miami Dolphins when they put the 70 burger on the Denver Broncos all that weeks ago. So for the Raiders to do that was unbelievable. And I know there's some people that said that they should go for the record. They should try to try to top the Dolphins 70 points. But I think they kind of felt like, no, let's not upset the apple cart. Uh let's not do that. Obviously they realized the damage was already done and they just let it be. So yeah, there was really nothing more to say there. Now, as far as the Cincinnati New Orleans, Anthony? Cincinnati, New Orleans?
No. It's tomorrow. It's the first game of the big NFL Network triple header tomorrow.
Minnesota and Cincinnati, right?
Yeah, it's the Minnesota Vikings and the Cincinnati Bengals. It's the number 2 game of the week on the other side of the ledger, and I want to let you know that starting this week and going forward, we're going to be introducing a new feature on the show called "What's at Stake" in terms of playoff implications. And Cincinnati, if they win, 35% chance to make the playoffs. They lose, those odds go down to 10%. For Minnesota, 79% chance to get to the playoffs, 21% chance to win the division with a win. But if they lose, 51% to make the playoffs, 8% to win the division. So, in other words, massive playoff implications for both sides.
Massive playoff implications, no doubt about it. When it comes to this, there's really nothing more to add. Look, I am loving Cincinnati. I love the body of work that they've been doing lately. I think they found a resurgence here, and I think it could not have come at a better time. Minnesota is still unknown because of the fact with who's their quarterback. Josh Dobbs didn't really he played fine, but nothing amazing. I like Cincinnati here at home in this situation. Give me the Bengals to win. So yeah, let's go to the second of the 3 Saturday games.
And MF, you'll be starting it off. It's the number 3 game on our side of the ledger. This game came in at number 3. You thought there were big implications in the first game, just as big of implications in the other game here. The Pittsburghs, and this is going to be at 4:30, by the way, on the NFL, also on the NFL Network. The Pittsburgh Steelers squaring off against the Indianapolis Colts from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Rich Eisen, Hall of Famer Kurt Warner, and Jamie Erdahl will have the call. Indianapolis opening up as a 1.5-point favorite. And we know the history of these two teams going back to what MF and I deemed the main event mafia days in the late 2000s and 2010s. It is a one-sided matchup, though. Pittsburgh has dominated this series. They lead the all-time series 21-6, including 8 straight wins against Indianapolis, including last year in Indianapolis. Pittsburgh won 24-17. The Colts have not beaten the Steelers overall since they won in Pittsburgh back in 2008, 24-20.
If I remember correctly, isn't that the days of Peyton Manning when Peyton was the quarterback in 2008?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I'll even go further, MF. If I remember correctly, I think we actually had that game. I think we might have called that game, if I recall correctly.
Think if you go back into the archives, I'm pretty sure we did. I think so. Yes.
I want to say we did. So I will do that at another time. The Colts have not won at home against Pittsburgh since 2005. I believe that was I know that was a 26-7 game, and then of course that followed by that legendary and epic divisional playoff game. Oh, another fun memory for myself and MF. The fumble that almost was for Indianapolis. I mean, what could have been if that had happened? Oh my goodness! But that's the history there. So, all right, MF, let me set the table here. As far as playoff implications go for this matchup, it's huge for the wild card race because if Indy wins, their playoff odds go to 64%. But if they lose, it drops all the way down to 22%. Pittsburgh, 48% chance to make the playoffs if they win. They lose like they've been losing these last couple of weeks. Those odds go down all the way to 10%. Yeah. So,
that means the loser of this game, it's possibly on the outside looking in. If you win it, it's good. If you're Indy, if you guys win it, you're almost there. You got maybe you would need one or two more maybe one or two more games, and you might get home, and into the postseason. And I know Pat McAfee is definitely pushing for Indy. He may be a Pittsburgh boy, but boy, he is an Indy Colt through and through. As a matter of fact, he's a season ticket holder for the Indianapolis Colts. So I would not be surprised if him and the Stooges are down there on Saturday afternoon at 4:30 at Lucas Oil. Look, I'm gonna say this: when you talk about Indy, it's like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Yes, Gardner Minshew's been really good, but you don't know if you're going to get the good running game. You don't know if the receivers are going to show up. You don't know if the defense is going to be really good. As pertains to Pittsburgh, okay, a couple of games out after they fired Matt Canada, it looked great. They had over 400 yards of total offense. The running game looked good. Everything was fine. You're thinking, all right, Matt Canada was the problem. Matt Canada was the problem. They fixed that. Pittsburgh's better, right? Oh no. They do not look better. Now they look worse. And now, all of a sudden, they're not talking about Matt Canada being the problem. Pittsburgh Steelers fans are saying, Mike Tomlin, you are the problem now. You got to fix this, or we demand better. We demand that you get your sorry ass out of Pittsburgh. That's what the Pittsburgh fans are saying. That's why I've been reading on the feed. That's why I've been reading on all the social media site for the last couple of weeks now, that they want Tomlin gone. Believe it or not. And I cannot believe I'm hearing this. Tomlin is without a doubt one of the most loyal guys. He's been so good. He's been amazing. The guy got you to a Super Bowl, for heaven's sake. And now you want to kick him out the door because you guys stink. I don't understand these fans nowadays. But then again, I'm going to save another rant for later on tonight.
Yeah, I totally disagree with what those Pittsburgh fans are saying. I mean, Mike Tomlin, like you said, he's a loyal guy. I mean, with what he's done for this franchise since taking over for the great Bill Cowher. I mean,
Yeah.
he led you to a Super Bowl title in Super Bowl 43. Led you to
And not
another
only
Super Bowl in
and
Super
not
Bowl
only that,
45.
but not only that, Michael. Hold on. Let me also preface this. He's never had a losing season as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I
He
was just
hasn't.
going to get to that. I was just going to get to that. I mean, he has never ever had a losing season in Pittsburgh. And now all of a sudden, because you guys stink, you want to kick this guy out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I disagree with you, Pittsburgh fans. I don't know what's going through your freaking mind. Mike Tomlin is the classiest guy, and I'm going to say it right here, and I don't care what those Pittsburgh fans say. Mike Tomlin deserves better than this.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Period. And the quotation and the statement. And if you Pittsburgh fans don't like my opinion, you can kiss my ass.
okay. As far as the breakdown goes, before Bullock went on his rant, I was gonna say this. With the way that this game is playing, obviously Mitchell Trubisky's the starter. You don't got Kenny Pickett. That's a major problem. Of course, I got a lot more faith in Gardner Minshew, but if Pittsburgh wants to win, you got to establish a running game. But the thing is, their running game is not that great. Pittsburgh's defense is holding, but even now TJ Watt's getting hurt. And I know he's been dealing with some injuries here and there. He needs to be at 100% because if he's not, I don't see Pittsburgh winning this game. I got Indy winning it. 28-24 is my final score. I got the Indianapolis Colts taking one step closer to getting into the postseason. So, Michael Bullock, it is yours.
Bullock, are you there? All right. I'm guessing Michael Bullock probably stepped away for a moment. So while we wait for him to come back, I'll just take it for a spin here, and then we'll give it to him when he's ready to come back in. All right, here we go. The Steelers have won 8 consecutive games against the Colts, including regular season and postseason games. It's a remarkable streak that began in 2011, with the Colts' last win coming in 2008 with Hall of Fame quarterback Peyton Manning under center. Pittsburgh coach Mike Tomlin, who was hired in 2007, is 8-1 against Indianapolis and has never lost at Lucas Oil Stadium. Colts rookie tight end Will Mallory will score his first NFL touchdown. Mallory, who sees the fewest snaps of the Colts' 4 tight ends, had a career-high 5 catches against Cincinnati last week. In their last 2 losses, the Steelers' defense gave up 3 touchdowns to tight ends as New England and Arizona took advantage of mismatches in the secondary, and the Steelers depleted inside linebacker core. Though the Colts' tight ends haven't been consistent, the position group combined for 8 catches, 65 yards, and a touchdown against Cincinnati, a defense the Steelers exploited earlier this season with a career day by tight end Pat Freiermuth. Colts receiver Michael Pittman Jr. has 982 receiving yards. With 18 more yards, he would be the 4th Colts player with multiple seasons with 1,000 yards receiving, joining Reggie Wayne with 8, Hall of Famer Marvin Harrison with 8, and T.Y. Hilton with 5. The X factor is Colts edge rusher Kwity Paye. Since Week 10, Paye ranks 2nd in pass rush win rate at edge, 28%, behind only Dallas's Micah Parsons at 43.2%. In that same span, Steelers offensive tackle Broderick Jones ranks 50th of 67 tackles in pass block win rate, 85%. As I stated earlier, this one is huge for the AFC wildcard race. Indy can improve its odds to 64% with a win, but losing to Pittsburgh drops that to 22%. And the Steelers would be at 48% if they get back on track tomorrow, but another loss dims their playoff light to 10%. For fantasy, the Colts give up the third most fantasy points a game to running backs. In consecutive games, Najee Harris has had 15 touches, while Jalen Warren has had 10 or more. Both players are projected to score 11 or more fantasy points and can be relied upon in lineups. 5 of 6 Colts home games have gone over the total this season. 56%. The FPI gives it to Pittsburgh 56% by an average of 2 points. But I'm going with the Indianapolis Colts to win this game as well. I got it a little lower scoring than MF does, but I have Indy winning. 24-17, Indianapolis defeats Pittsburgh. So that's how I feel about it. So Michael Bullock, if you're back in, come on, there you are. All right, let's get your thoughts on Steelers and Colts, our number 3 game of the week.
Yeah, a lot of implications with this one, and yeah, you already got my thoughts on the whole Mike Tomlin thing. No need for me to repeat it. So, but yeah, it's a big game for both teams. But after what I've seen from these last 2 games for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I just don't have that confidence in them. So I'm going with you guys, and I'm going with the Indianapolis Colts as well. So let's move on to the last game of the Saturday slate, and this is another big one that's going down on the NFL Network.
We go from our number 3 game, and Michael Bullock, you'll be starting it off. The final game of the triple header, the prime time game, if you will. It's our number 2 game of the week. It's the number 2 game for our side of the ledger. Yes, indeed, Bullock, just as big, absolutely. I'll set the table for that in just a moment. The Denver Broncos squaring off against the Detroit Lions from Ford Field in Detroit. And what a treat for the NFL Network for all of us NFL Network viewers tomorrow night. We're getting Kevin Harlan for this game, friends. Yes, we are. Kevin Harlan, Trent Green, Melanie Collins, they will be in Detroit for this one. Detroit opening up as a 4.5-point favorite. The series history favors Denver. Denver leads the all-time series 9-5. And Denver has also won the last 3 meetings with the Lions. Last meeting was 2 years ago in Denver. Denver won going away 38-10. Last meeting in Detroit was 2015. Denver also won that game 24-12. Lions last beat the Broncos overall in 2011, 45-10 beatdown in Denver. Last time the Lions beat the Broncos at home, 2007, a 44-7 beatdown. All right, Bullock, let me set the table for you as far as what's at stake in this one. The Lions, they can take another step toward the NFC North if they win tomorrow night. If they win, their odds of winning the North will skyrocket all the way up to 90%. If they lose, well, not all that bad. They will take a hit, but not too big a hit. 74% if they lose. For Denver, if they win, their odds of making the playoffs, 65%. And a loss would put them at 31%. And believe it or not, Denver is actually still alive in the AFC West. Who would have thunk that? But it likely needs a win to keep that going. And if they were to get that win, 13% in that scenario. So you heard the numbers, Bullock. Huge game for both Denver for their wild card hopes. One of a bajillion teams in the AFC currently at 7-6, whereas the Detroit Lions are looking to take one step closer to their first division title in 30 years.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, if you had told me at the beginning of the season that these two, Detroit and Denver, would be in position for a playoff spot, what would you have told me back at the beginning of the season?
Detroit, yes. Denver, not so much.
Especially back in Week 6 when things weren't going their way, and people were like, "What was the point of bringing in Sean Payton They should have just fired him and just blow everything up. But here they are, 7-6, not only in position for a wild card spot, but they're actually still alive for the AFC West. I mean, just imagine that. And Detroit, I mean, a win, like you said, they take another step towards possibly winning the NFC North, and that's a huge thing for this for the squad. So, like I said, a lot at stake here, but to me, this is a game that could go either way. I mean, I got to go with the Detroit Lions. They are at home. I like what they've done, but if the Denver Broncos were to win, I would not at all be surprised, especially with the way they've been playing lately. So I'm going with the Detroit Lions, but once again, I would not at all be surprised if the Denver Broncos win. So it's yours, Florio.
The Lions have lost 2 of their last 3 games, while the Broncos have won 6 of their last 7 and are looking to climb the AFC West ladder. It will also be a reunion for Lions coach Dan Campbell and his mentor, Sean Payton, now the coach of Denver. Dan Campbell spent 5 seasons on Sean Payton's staff in New Orleans as an assistant head coach, tight ends coach from 2016 to 2020, and also played on teams Payton coached. And Campbell said during practice yesterday, I've got a tremendous amount of respect for Sean and everything about him. And probably the greatest compliment I can give to him is that he believed in me always, and he gave me that shot as a player and a coach. The Broncos defense, with 20 sacks and 18 takeaways over the last 7 games, will sack Lions quarterback Jared Goff at least 4 times and intercept him at least once. Only 2 teams have sacked Goff at least 4 times and had at least 1 interception in the same game this season. The Baltimore Ravens on October 22nd and the Chicago Bears last week. Those also happen to be the 2 lowest scoring games of the Detroit Lions season. Broncos receiver Courtland Sutton has had a touchdown reception in all 6 road games. He could become the 5th player in NFL history with a receiving touchdown in his team's first 7 road games of the season. The X factor, Jared Goff. Since week 11, he ranks 22nd in QBR, 41, 17th in completion percentage over expectation, minus 2.2%, and 27th in off-target rate, 17.5%. Detroit needs to get its offense on track again before the playoffs. I've already addressed what's at stake. No need to rehash that. Russell Wilson and his receivers have an advantage. Detroit's defense has given up the 4th most fantasy points a game to quarterbacks and the 9th most to wide receivers. Fantasy managers will want Wilson and Sutton, who has scored touchdowns in 10 of 13 games in lineups. Lions are 31-16 against the spread under Dan Campbell, 2nd best against the spread record since 2021, behind only the Dallas Cowboys. The FPI likes Detroit 59% by an average of 3.2 points. I'm going with the Detroit Lions to win this game as well. 9-26, Detroit knocks off Denver. So, not much more to say here. MF, number 2 game of the week on our side of the ledger. Tomorrow night, prime time. Denver and Detroit. Huge implications for both teams.
Huge implications, huge matchup, no doubt about it. Something has to give here. But you know what? I was gonna say maybe I would lean a little bit for Detroit, man. But Denver's been really good lately. They've really turned it around, and I really think that they definitely have a chance to win it. But I feel like right now I'm gonna give Detroit one more chance. I think Detroit will win this, but I would not be stunned if Denver takes it. So nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
All right. So with all that, let's move on now to the Sunday slate of action. Just bear with me as I get that set up. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we got 7. This is the first of 7 early games. The 7 games that will be at 1 o'clock. And we go to the NFC North, or the NFC South rather, and we will get into what will be, without question, their Zonk game of the week. The other side of the ledger's Zonk game of the week, that is. A matchup featuring the Atlanta Falcons squaring off against the Carolina Panthers, Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. And on the call for that one, it will be Adam Amin, Mark Schlereth, and Christina Pink. And the spread favor Atlanta up as a point favorite. And these two teams met all the way back on opening day, all the way back in week number 1 in Atlanta. And the Atlanta Falcons won that game by a score of 24-10. So Atlanta notched the latest win in this divisional rivalry, and added to their series lead. They now lead the all-time series 36-21 with the win in Atlanta. Last year in Charlotte, Carolina won 25-15. Atlanta's last win in Carolina was 2021, 29-21. So let's set the table for this one. Bear with me as I find it in my notes here. Okay, it's coming up. I'm going to go down quite a bit far here because it's a dud game. All right, here we go. This game matters. This game matters more for Atlanta in a 3-way tie with New Orleans and Tampa Bay for the NFC South Division lead. The Panthers have been focused the last few weeks on establishing the running game to take pressure off their quarterback, Bryce Young. And the Falcons have a top 15 run defense that has allowed an NFL low 5 rushing touchdowns. Young is coming off arguably the worst game of his rookie season with a 36% completion percentage, and it's going against an Atlanta defense that intercepted him twice in the season opener. This game won't be decided until late in the fourth quarter. While Carolina has the NFL's worst record, the Panthers have been within 1 possession in the fourth quarter in their last 5 games, all losses. Atlanta has been in 1 possession games in 8 games. Expect and see the Falcons combination of Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson to close out the game with 2 run-heavy possessions, giving Robinson over 100 all-purpose yards. Panthers have scored fewer than 20 points in 7 straight games, already the longest streak in franchise history. Should they score fewer than 20 points on Sunday, they will tie the New York Giants for the longest such streak by any team this season, 8 games. The X factor is Panthers cornerback J.C. Horn. Last week was Horn's first game back playing 100% of snaps. Thus far in a tiny sample, he has allowed a high 2 yards per coverage snap per NFL Next Gen stats, but we know he's capable of being a difference maker on defense. Carolina will need him to slow down Drake London when they match up, as London is coming off a 172-yard receiving game. More NFC South intrigue. The Falcons would have a 47% chance to make the playoffs and a 41% chance to win the division if they beat Carolina. But those odds would plummet all the way down to 17% to make the playoffs and 14% to win the division if they can't. One NFC South team that is eliminated, and even though their draft pick would be 98% to end up number 1 if they lose, those rights belong to the Chicago Bears. The Falcons, 31.7, average the 3rd most rushing attempts per game and face a Panther defense that has given up the 4th most fantasy points a game to running backs. In 2 of his last 3 games, Bijan Robinson has scored 20 or more fantasy points. Falcons are 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 division games, failed to cover last week. FPI likes Atlanta here, 67% for the Atlanta Falcons by an average of almost 6 points. I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons to win this game as well. Final score for me, I'm going to say 27-17. Atlanta defeats Carolina and sweeps them. So not much more to say here. So MF, you heard it all. Your thoughts on Atlanta and Carolina, the Zonk game of the week for the other side of the ledger.
Yeah, no. Like you said, not a good matchup, not a good game. I'm not really looking forward to it as well. I'll go with the Atlanta Falcons to win, just for the mere fact of what you just said. As long as they give the ball to Bijan Robinson, this guy's one of the most dynamic players in the NFL, and yet he is being underutilized in Atlanta. It's almost a crying shame that that's happening because he is a damn good talent. Atlanta wins. Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I'm with you guys as well. I gotta go with Atlanta Falcons. I mean, I like Bijan Robinson. He's definitely one of the emerging young players that I've seen here. So I gotta go with the Falcons as well. So let's go on to the next game.
And we stay on the and we stay with Fox. As this next 1:00 game will feature, well, this is a little bit of a better matchup. The Chicago Bears squaring off against the Cleveland Browns. First Energy Stadium in Cleveland. Kevin Kugler, Mark Sanchez, Laura Oakman will be on the call for that one. Cleveland opening up as a 3-point favorite. Cleveland leads the all-time series 10-7. Last meeting was 2 years ago in Cleveland. Cleveland won going away 26-6. Chicago last beat Cleveland in 2017 in Chicago, 20-3. And Chicago's last win in Cleveland was 2013, 38-31. Wild one there. So, all right, MF, let me set you up with let me set the table here for what's at stake between these two. It's not much. I mean, beating Chicago would up Cleveland's playoff chances to 89%. Lose, and those odds drop to 68%. AFC North division odds, 15% with a win, 3% in a loss. This game, far more important for Cleveland, not so much for Chicago.
Yes, it is. It is a far more bigger matchup for Cleveland. I believe the Browns will win it. You know, look, they finally have an established quarterback in Joe Flacco. I think what he's been doing for Cleveland has been amazing. And the thing is, yes, Kareem Hunt went down with the injury, but they still got a good they still got a good running back. The receiving core is still solid to say the very least. No, I'm in confidence with this. I like the Cleveland Browns to win this. So give me Cleveland to win. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I gotta go with the Browns as well. I mean, like you said, I mean, yes, Kareem Hunt went down, but I mean, the thing is, Joe Flacco. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. He was watching football at his parents' house, and now here he is, and he's performed well, and so much so, Kevin Stefanski has named Joe Flacco as the starter for the rest of the season. So he's really loved what he's seen out of him. So yeah, and plus, let's not forget about the defense that continues to play well too. So I'm gonna go with the Cleveland Browns as well. So it's yours, Florio.
Well, all right. All right, I got it now. Okay. The last time these two teams met in 2021, Cleveland's Myles Garrett had almost as many sacks, 4.5, as Chicago quarterback Justin Fields had completion, 6. Fields is surging since returning from injury in Week 11, with an almost 67% completion percentage, 609 passing yards, and 3 touchdowns, 1 rushing in 3 games, but will face a big test operating against the Browns' swarming defensive line. The Bears' defense will have another 3 takeaway performance, which will bring its 4-game total to 11, against the Browns' offense that has been prone to turnovers. Cleveland quarterback Joe Flacco has thrown an interception in each of his 2 starts, and the Browns fumbled twice last week. Bears cornerback Jalen Johnson and safety Jaquan Brisker will each come away with an interception this week. The Browns are 2-2 against NFC teams this season, winning both games at home against San Francisco and Arizona, and losing both on the road at Seattle and at the LA Rams. The X Factor, Jalen Johnson. The Chicago corner is on fire. Johnson has allowed 0.7 yards per coverage snap this season, lowest among all outside corners with at least 250 coverage snaps, and he's coming off a game in which he allowed 0 receptions and caught a pick. I already mentioned about the odds for Cleveland. DJ Moore has scored 22 or more fantasy points in 3 consecutive games. Over that time frame, he has averaged almost 11 targets a game. The Browns' defense has allowed the second fewest fantasy points a game to wide receivers. However, considering how much Fields relies on Moore, fantasy managers should still include him in their lineups. Browns are 6-1 against the spread at home this season, with unders going 5-1-1. FPI likes Cleveland 57% by an average of 2.5 points. Give me the Cleveland Browns to win this game as well. My final score 23-17. Cleveland defeats Chicago. Next up, we go to our number 4 game of the week. This game came in at number 4 on our side of the ledger. Cross flex matchup here. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers squaring off against the Green Bay Packers from the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Andrew Catalan, Tiki Barber, Matt Ryan, and AJ Ross will have the call for CBS. And the spread favors Green Bay. Green Bay opening up as a 3.5-point favorite. Green Bay leads the all-time regular season series 33-22 with a tie. That one tie came in Tampa Bay in 1980, 14-14. They met in Tampa Bay last year. Green Bay won an ugly game, 14-12. Last time they played at Lambeau, of course, we all remember it. January of 2021, the NFC Championship game, where Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeated Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers 31-26. And, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, of course, went on to win the Super Bowl, as we all know. Last regular season game at Lambeau was 2017. Green Bay won that one 26-20 in overtime. Tampa Bay's last regular season win at Lambeau was in 2005, 17-16. Michael Bullock, we started off with you here, and let's set the table of what's at stake here. Tampa Bay is seeking the NFC South Division title and controls their own destiny because they technically lead it right now. They win, it would boost their odds to winning it to 49%. And it would also give Tampa Bay a 65% chance to make the playoffs overall. But if they lose, their division hopes drop to 26%, and their playoff hopes drop to 29%. For Green Bay, 65% to make the playoffs if they win, but a second straight loss to a sub-500 team would slide them to 26%. Big game for both sides, and Tampa Bay looking to keep pace in the NFC South, whereas the Green Bay Packers looking to get it right after that embarrassing loss to the Giants on Monday night. So, Michael Bullock, come on in. It's all yours. Number 4 game of the week. You heard all the schematics there. So, Tampa Bay and Green Bay playing in Lambeau for the first time since that NFC Championship game in January of 2021 when your old friend Tom Brady led Tampa Bay to the Super Bowl. So, Bullock, are you there? Looks like he's okay, there he is. All right, Bullock. As I've been saying, Tampa Bay and Green Bay, our number 4 game of the week. I'm sure you heard all the schematics there. So, first time these two have met at Lambeau since that NFC Championship game where your old friend Tom Brady made another Hall of Fame legacy moment for him.
Yeah, and that's something the Green Bay fans, I'm sure, are not going to forget. They're going to probably want to forget. I mean, yeah, that NFC Championship game where, yes, Tom Brady led the Bucs to the Super Bowl by beating Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, but you got 2 different quarterbacks here this time around with Baker Mayfield and Jordan Love. But man, the Packers, they really need this after losing on Monday Night Football to the New York Giants. So this is where it could go either way, but I got to go with the Green Bay Packers here. I mean, if this were in Tampa Bay, I would go with the Bucs, but since it's in the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field and they really need a bounce back win, I think this is where they need it. So I'm going with the Green Bay Packers to win this one and keep their playoff hopes alive. So it's yours, Florio.
This is the 3rd straight year that Baker Mayfield has come to Lambeau Field with his 3rd different team. He combined to throw 5 interceptions, 4 in 2021 with Cleveland and 1 last season with the LA Rams. In those 2 games, However, the Packers have intercepted the ball only 6 times this season, including just 1 in their last 5 games. Buccaneers running back Rachaad White will have another 100-yard rushing performance with a touchdown. Packers have struggled to stop the run, and since Week 10, they've given up 170 rushing yards a game, second most in the league. Packers quarterback Jordan Love has been excellent against the blitz, ranking 4th in QBR while throwing 8 passing touchdowns and 0 interceptions. He'll look to keep that going against the Bucs defense that ranks 3rd in blitz rate. The X factor is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line. Tampa Bay's pass protection has been below average, but it recorded the highest pass block win rate among all teams last week. If the Bucs can keep that up, that will give Baker Mayfield and the offense a chance to upset the Packers. I already explained about the playoff odds and everything. San Francisco's Deebo Samuel and the Packers' Jaden Reed. Deebo Samuel with 5 and Jaden Reed with 2 are the only receivers to have scored multiple rushing touchdowns this season. Reed is being relied on as a rusher and receiver and should be included in fantasy lineups against the Buccaneer defense that gives up the 6th most fantasy points a game to wide receivers. Packers have won and covered 3 straight home games. FPI likes Green Bay, 56%, by an average of 2.2 points. Green Bay wins the game. I agree with Michael Bullock. I got Green Bay winning as well. I think they'll bounce back from that tough luck loss to the Giants on Monday night. 24-19, Green Bay knocks off Tampa Bay in a renewal of this once great NFC Central divisional rivalry from the late 90s and the early 2000s. So 24-19, Green Bay wins. So MF, your thoughts now as we get into our number 4 game of the week. Tampa Bay and Green Bay, big game for both teams. Tampa Bay looking to keep pace in the NFC South. Green Bay, of course, looking to keep pace in the playoff in that crowded NFC playoff race.
Yeah, and Green Bay did not help themselves any favors after they got hit with the gabagool of Tony DeVito and the New York Football Giants. I had Kaiser Butler jumping on me the whole time. Look at my baby. Look at Saquon Barkley, got 2 touchdowns on Green Bay. I was hearing it all freaking night on Monday. God help me. How the hell did I survive that shit? Anyway, look, I'll say it. I like Green Bay. I like their attitude. Yes, it was a little bit of a letdown, but I think they'll come back at home. Big playoff implication game on the line. Give me the Packers to win it. I think they turn it around, and there's really nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
All right. And we go from our number 4 game of the week to our number 5 game of the week. Staying on our side of the ledger here, it will be, we move on now to the AFC East. Big game in the AFC East here, as it will be the New York Jets squaring off against good old MF Michael Fletcher's Miami Dolphins. Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Sorry, MF, you don't get your boy Kevin Harlan, but how about this? This is who you're getting this week. Listen to this. Hello, friends. Yep, you're getting Jim Nance. You're getting the big guy. You're getting the big guns this week, MF. Jim Nance, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson. They will be in Miami for the Jets and the Dolphins on a Sunday afternoon. Of course, as we all know, this is the second divisional meeting between these two. Miami opening up as a 9.5-point favorite. So let's address that. And of course, we all remember last time these two teams met, it was just a few short weeks ago, Black Friday, of course. The first ever Black Friday game in NFL history on the NFL Network. A game that was dominated by the Miami Dolphins. Miami winning the game 34-13 at MetLife, adding to their all-time series lead. They now lead at 58-56 with a tie. Last year in Miami, the Miami Dolphins won an ugly game, 11-6. Good news for MF and the Dolphins. The Dolphins have won, I believe, the last 7 years at home. They've won the last 7 meetings in Miami against the Jets. The last time the Jets beat the Dolphins with the Dolphins as the home team, it was in London in 2015. Miami was technically the home team in that London game. But the last time the Jets won in Miami overall, it was 2014. 37-24. So with all that, let's dive on in, gentlemen, to this AFC East divisional matchup here. Michael Fletcher doesn't need to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you all anyway. MF, you should know this better than anybody, being the Dolphin insider that you are. You and our dear friend Eric Carrier, of course. The Dolphins' offense is hurting. Starting offensive linemen have missed a combined 21 games to injury this season, and that number will grow before the end of the year. Guard Connor Williams will miss the remainder of the season, and offensive tackle Robert Hunt is not expected to play. Although offensive tackle Teron Armstead could make his return to the field. Miami could also be without wide receiver Tyreek Hill, who injured his ankle in Monday night's upset loss to the Tennessee Titans. His absence would mark uncharted territory, as Hill has yet to miss a game since he was traded to the Dolphins last year. Can the Jets capitalize on Miami's injuries? Jets quarterback Zach Wilson will perform better against Miami than Tim Boyle did 3 weeks ago, but he also won't come close to duplicating his career best from last week, a 118 passer rating against Houston. Wilson hasn't played well against Miami, 0 touchdown passes in 2 starts, and he will be frustrated by the Vic Fangio coach defense, not to mention cornerbacks Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard. Jets have lost 10 straight division road games, longest active streak in the NFL, and the Jets' second longest since the 1970 merger, when they lost 12 straight from 1994 to 1997. The X factor, Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. He struggled Monday night without Tyreek Hill and is now facing the defense that, according to ESPN's FPI, is the best in the NFL. This will be a test for the Dolphins offense, especially if Tyreek Hill is out or limited again. What's at stake? Well, even if the Jets win, their playoff odds would be 1%. The Dolphins, however, could jump to 99% if they win, along with an 81% chance to win the AFC East for the first time since 2008. A second straight bad loss would slide Miami's playoff chances slightly down to 85% and its division title hopes to 62%. This season, Tagovailoa and Hill have connected 97 times for 1,542 yards. Hill's availability will either positively or negatively impact Tagovailoa's fantasy potential against a Jet defense that allows the second fewest fantasy points a game to quarterbacks. Dolphins are 7-2 against the spread as favorites this season. Tagovailoa 17-11 against the spread in his career as a favorite, including 9-4 against the spread when laying at least 6 points. Another big FPI for the Miami Dolphins, 80% going with Miami by an average of 11 points. Miami wins. I don't think it's going to be the blowout like it was last time. But I still have Miami winning this, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than you think. I think Miami will barely survive this one, 20-16. So not much more to say here. MF, oh boy. Oh man, what happened on Monday night?
We played down to the competition. I'm not even going to say. There's really nothing more to say. We were up 13 points with 4 minutes left, and we absolutely blew it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The defense played like garbage. Tua Tagovailoa played like garbage. Tyreek Hill got hurt. The offensive line basically torpedoed. It was a complete and utter mess. The play calling was bad. First time since I've been, first time in a long time that I've actually had to call out Mike McDaniels for his play calling. And it really stunk after that, because now you had the naysayers coming out, saying that Tua never was, this great quarterback, that Miami are a bunch of frauds, that, they're not going to win the AFC East now. There's still, there was so much negativity, even from our own freaking fan base, they basically started abandoning ship and the whole 9 yards. So let's just say this whole week I've been really on edge more than ever before, and not really. I've been a little annoyed with, I get it, the media, because fine, the media never liked the Miami Dolphins. Let's be realistic. They were like, oh, the greatest show on turf. Yeah, but they can't win any big games. All right, fine. That's the narrative. You want to say that? Fine, whatever. But for the Dolphin fans to start ripping on the Dolphins about the way that they played, I'm like, you guys have been fair weather fans since the very beginning. I don't care what you guys say or what you guys think or believe or whatever. I know it's bad. I know, because our O line's been depleted. It got hurt. It's been damaged. There's no doubt about it. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Tua looked like a shell of himself because the O line couldn't keep him upright. And now you're going up against a Jet team that, I think it's going to be a lot more difficult because, as you notice, they picked off Tua twice in that game. Remember, one guy ran all the way back for a pick six on that Black Friday game. So Tua's got to mind his P's and Q's, and he even got to watch himself, because if he makes those same mistakes like he did the first time around, he could get us in trouble. But I believe Miami is going to turn it around. They're going to figure it out. That's the thing, is that, look, we had a bad game. We did not play to our full potential, because that Miami team that was on Monday night, I don't know what the hell that team was, because that did not look like a Miami Dolphins squad that wanted it to be the AFC Eastern Division champions or even favorites to win the freaking Super Bowl, because that was not a Super Bowl caliber team out there. I know the injuries is piling up. Offensively, they've been looking bad. We did sign 2 new players for the O-line. They're going to get thrusted in. I'm hearing Hunt might play. Armstead definitely is a lot more better. Achan is out. He's got a toe injury. Right now, Tyreek is a game-time decision. I hope he plays. Or if he does play, he might be limited. But even then, we just got to play our style of football. We just got to be better than what we've been playing. We did get Ingram back. Melvin Ingram re-signed with the Dolphins. That's a huge pickup, huge shot in the arm for the defense. You put him back with that position, with Andrew Van Ginkel, with those boys. Look, the defense, you just got to not bend or break. What happened on Monday night cannot happen again. There is a lot of pressure now on Miami, because remember, there's a murderer's row behind us. Dallas, Baltimore, Buffalo at the end. We need at least 2 of the next 4 to win the AFC East. So to me, because I'll tell you everything coming in, Buffalo needs to lose 1. Miami needs to win 2. That gets us over the finish line to the AFC Eastern Division title. So with that said, Miami wins this one. 21-13 is my score. Mike Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, Miami really needs this one. I mean, especially after the way they lost on Monday night to the Tennessee Titans. I mean, my goodness, that was bad. That was pretty bad. I mean, so much so. Florio and I, we were wondering, was MF going to be on the show? And I was like thinking, there's probably no way he was going to be on the show, because he was just so frustrated with the way the Dolphins played at the end. And I don't blame him. I mean, you blow a 13-point lead with 4 minutes to go. That's unacceptable.
You would have had to hold me back, because I was in cerebral viper mode at that point. It's a good thing I didn't show up on Monday night, because you would have had to put the rated R level, parental advisory level, Florio, because. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as
you would have to put the age restriction, because I would have gone off. I was going off. in the
Yeah,
house. I was pissed.
and I had a feeling like with the way you were, Fletch, I'm like thinking, there's no way he's gonna want to be on the show. I mean, there's no way. I mean, after the way his team lost, no way. So yeah, I didn't blame you, Fletch, for not being on. So, but I think the Dolphins will definitely bounce back here. I mean, look, I mean the Jets have a good defense, but the thing is, the offense. I mean, yeah, they had a breakthrough last week, but can they do it 2 weeks in a row? I just don't see it happening. So Miami wins. It's yours, Florio.
Okay. Moving on to our next matchup here. We still have a few 1 o'clock games left here. Next up, it features the New York Giants squaring off against the New Orleans Saints from the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. And you can find this game over on Fox. And and on the call for this game, I believe it is Kenny Albert's crew working this game. Let me double check on that one. Yes, Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma, Shannon Sake will be on the call for that one. New Orleans. I believe it is New Orleans opening point favorite. Yep, that's correct. New Orleans, a 5.5-point favorite. The Giants lead the all-time series 17-14. Last meeting 2 years ago in New Orleans, Giants stole one in New Orleans, 27-21 in overtime. Saints last beat the Giants in 2018, 33-18 in New York. Saints' last home win over the Giants was 2015, a wild 52-49 shootout in the Dome 8 years ago. So, MF, I believe you start off on this one. MF will start off on this one here. What's at stake? Well, for New Orleans, they can make a move in the NFC South Division race. They improved their chances to 36% and 45% for the playoffs with a win. Lose, uphill climb. 18% to make the playoffs, 15% for the division. And for the Giants, if Tommy DeVito can get the Giants another win, it would put New York at 2% to make the playoffs. So, MF, your thoughts on the Giants and the Saints?
Yeah, no, this is going to be an interesting matchup. You know, I don't know, guys. I mean, if you would have told me this a few weeks ago, I would have said, New Orleans easy. New Orleans wins this one going away. They'll beat the Giants. I actually don't know now. I honestly am feeling the Tommy DeVito, the Gabagool, I'm starting to feel a little Italiano here, with the way they've been playing lately. Saquon Barkley's looking amazing. I know Kaiser Butler loves Saquon Barkley, so shout out to her on that one. And the Giants team as a whole has looked a lot better than it has recently. So I don't know, guys. I'm starting to believe that I think this could happen. I'm actually going to go with the Giants to win this game, believe it or not. So I got nothing more to say. So, Michael Bullock, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point there, Fletch. I mean, I'm starting to be in this whole Tommy DeVito thing. So, I mean, weeks ago I would have said the Saints, but man, I don't know. This is a tough one for me to call, but I'm gonna go with the New Orleans Saints to win this one. But I'm not at all comfortable about this. That's why I would not be surprised if the Giants pull it off. So Saints win, but once again, Florio, as I give it to you, I just don't feel comfortable about it.
I don't blame you, Bullock. The Saints' passing offense has been struggling, and quarterback Derek Carr had only 37 passing yards through most of last Sunday's win against Carolina, Graham and Chris Olave. He finished with 119 passing yards. Carr and the offense will look to get back on track against the Giant defense, giving up 190 passing yards a game over the last 4 weeks. Kaiser Butler, this is for you. Giants running back Saquon Barkley will rush for 120 plus yards. It's notable because he has topped 100 yards on the ground only once this season, but he's motivated by a late fumble against Green Bay Monday night, and the Saints defense has allowed more than 150 rushing yards in 4 of its last 6 games. MF, your boy, the Gabagool, Tommy DeVito, has seven passing touchdowns in 4 career starts, tied for the second most passing touchdowns by a player through their first 4 starts with the Giants since quarterback starts were first tracked in 1950, trailing only Hall of Famer Fran Tarkenton's 8 passing touchdowns in 1967. The X factor is Giants wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson. He's coming off his biggest receiving game of the season, catching 6 passes for 79 yards in the Giants' dramatic win over the Packers Monday night. If Robinson can develop into a consistent playmaker, that would go far for the Giants offense. I already talked about the playoff stakes. On the road, the Giants defense has allowed 3.4 touchdowns a game, 4th highest rate in the NFL. Because New York's defense gives up the 3rd most fantasy points to wide receivers, Chris Olave is in a great spot at the Caesars Superdome. Saints are 1-5 against the spread at home this season. I'm sorry, guys. New Orleans, the FPI loves New Orleans. 79% by an average of almost 11 points is going with New Orleans. So I got to go with New Orleans as well. But it will be a close game. I will give you that. 21-17. I'm gonna take a chance and go with New Orleans in this one. But would I be surprised if the Giants won? No, I wouldn't. So there isn't really much more to add on that one. I did go a little out of order, but who cares? Just for these couple of early games, but we'll pick it up in the late games. Next up, we have the this game is back on our side of the ledger, and I believe it came in at number 6, as it will be the Houston Texans squaring off against the Tennessee Titans from let me back that up. Instead of Giants and Saints, we should have talked about the Kansas City Chiefs and the New England Patriots now that it's been flexed. Now, let's get into that one, and then we'll have Houston and Tennessee wrap it up. Kansas City Chiefs, New England Patriots. Of course, as we all know, this game was originally scheduled to be the Monday Night Football game when the schedule came out back in May. But for the first time in NFL history, a scheduled Monday night game got flexed. We'll tell you who ultimately got the Monday night spot this week in the main event. But instead of that game being on Monday Night Football on ESPN, this game has now been moved, flexed to 1 o'clock and cross-flexed over to Fox. The Kansas City Chiefs squaring off against the New England Patriots, Gillette Stadium in Foxborough. It didn't hit me until just now. We should have talked about this game now. This really should have been the Giants-Saints spot, but that's okay. One small little order blip, but that's it. This game will be over on Fox, and it'll be Joe Davis, Daryl Moose Johnston, and Pam Oliver. They will have the call. Kansas City opening up as an 8.5-point favorite, and series history favors Kansas City. Kansas City leads the all-time series 20-14 with 3 ties. Kansas City has won the last 2 meetings with New England. Their last meeting was 2020 in Kansas City. Kansas City won 26-10. Last meeting in Foxborough was 2019. Kansas City also winning that one 23-16. Last time the Patriots beat the Chiefs overall was that unforgettable AFC Championship game, January of 2019, when they went into Arrowhead and stole it 37-31 in overtime. Their last regular season home win,
which we got to do. I think was on I think it was either on Google or what was it? Or one of those.
It was Google, because we didn't get into StreamYard until I think it was the summer of 19. So
yeah, because the 3 of us, we watched that game together.
Yes, we did a Google Hangout, a live Google Hangout. We didn't do a recording, although I kind of would have loved to have done a recording of us calling that game. That would have been epic. But nonetheless, the last time the Patriots beat the Chiefs at home, 43-40. That wild and crazy regular season game in 2018. So yeah. And I do believe it's only fitting that Michael Bullock starts this game, thanks to that little botcheroo there. Because I like to go alphabetically by home team in every game, or in chronological order, whatever comes first. But Bullock, we'll start it off with you here. What's at stake? Well, for Kansas City, they can get it right here and put themselves at a 95% chance to win the AFC West. If they can get by your Patriots, their playoff chances would drop down to 84% if somehow, God forbid, they lose again. But your Patriots are already out of the playoffs. They're already out of the playoff race. But a loss would give New England a 4% chance at the number one pick in the 2024 NFL draft. So Michael Bullock, let's start it off with you here. Last time we saw your Patriots, they went into Pittsburgh and upset the Steelers on Thursday Night Football, 21-18. Meanwhile, what in the world is going on with the Kansas City Chiefs? I mean, they lose at Lambeau, 27-19, and then last week we saw something that none of us, especially me, did not see coming. They lost at home to my Buffalo Bills. And both games, Taylor Swift was in the stands. They lost 2 in a row with Swiftie. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, who knows what's going on? And then, yeah, that crazy play at the end, which we thought Kansas City was going to win it, but Tony got called for being offsides, and you saw Patrick Mahomes. He was fuming mad along with Andy Reid, but I think we can all agree, guys, that was the correct call. So I don't know what the hell Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes were all crying, bitching, and moaning about. I mean, the refs got the call right, but anywho, I mean, but they do have a chance to right the wrong here against the Patriots. But for the Patriots, I mean, now that was a Patriot-like performance. I mean, it wasn't pretty, but Bailey Zappi, I mean, had one heck of a game, and this is what I talked about. You don't go out there, I mean, you go out there and you play with pride, you play with dignity, and you play for the jersey that you wear. And you play for all the legends, all the greats that had donned that Patriots uniform, and that's what they did on Thursday night. I applaud you guys for doing what you did. I know there are some people who are saying, "Oh, why did you win that game? You should have lost the rest of your games just so you can improve upon your draft status and still have the chance of the number one pick." You know what? That's not the way how the Patriots do it. And all in all, and this is just how I feel, no team should be playing like that. You should be playing hard all the way for 60 minutes. And whatever the outcome is, you accept it. If you win, you win. You lose, you lose. And the Patriots, they play their hearts out and come out with a big-time win. Can they make it 2 in a row? I just don't think so, because Kansas City, they really need this bounce-back win after losing in such a tough way. So, Kansas City wins. So, nothing more for me to say. Florio, like I just said, that is what playing Patriots football is all about. You play with pride, you play with dignity, and you play for your coach and for those legends that donned that Patriots uniform. And they didn't listen to all the haters that were saying, "Oh, they should tank, they should lose the rest of their games just so they can improve upon their draft status." They didn't do that. And I'm proud of my guys.
As you should be. And let me tell you, Bullock. Let me tell you, your boys, despite this being a hard time season for you guys, you already have a major signature win when you knocked off when your boys knocked off my Buffalo Bills 2 months ago. You beat Kansas City. That's even bigger because that's the Super Bowl champions.
I was gonna say you beat the defending Super Bowl champs. That's a definite signature win.
That'd be even bigger than Buffalo. If they should somehow do it. So but nonetheless, as I get into my thoughts on this one, okay. Patriots coach Bill Belichick is second on the all-time wins list at 332, including playoffs. While Chiefs coach Andy Reid is closing ground quickly as his 277 wins rank him fourth all-time. This is the first time that two head coaches in the top 5 in a career regular season wins have faced each other since Week 4 of 1990, when Don Shula's Miami Dolphins met Chuck Noll's Pittsburgh Steelers. This game was originally scheduled for ESPN's Monday Night Football before becoming the first ever Monday Night Football game flexed to Sunday. This is the first year the league has experimented with flexing Monday games, mainly due to the New England Patriots' struggles. The Chiefs will sack Patriots quarterback Bailey Zappi at least 4 times. The pass rush has been the best part of the Chiefs' defense in recent games. They are tied for the third most sacks in the league with 42. Patriots quarterbacks have been sacked 14 times in the last 4 games, and the Chiefs should have plenty of opportunity to add to that total. Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce is 6 catches shy of 900 for his career. Sunday will be his 157th career game. He also has 74 career receiving touchdowns, 2 shy of matching Tony Gonzalez for the most in Chiefs history. The X factor is Chiefs defensive tackle Chris Jones. As long as Jones and the Chiefs defense take care of business in what should be a cake assignment, the Chiefs' lack of receivers won't even matter. The defense can set the struggling Chiefs offense up for success. Patriots running back Ezekiel Elliott has had 21 touches in 2 consecutive games, with Ramondre Stevenson dealing with a high ankle sprain. Because of Elliott's volume, he's firmly on the radar as an RB2. Patriots are 3-10 against the spread, the worst cover percentage in the NFL. FPI loves Kansas City, 76% by an average of 9 points. Kansas City gets back on track, 27-13, Kansas City over New England. So, MF, Kansas City. I mean, it's one thing to lose at Green Bay. It's another thing to lose at home to Buffalo. But God forbid if they lose in Foxborough. Whoa.
Oh, no. If they lose in Foxborough to the Patriots, oh, no. That will be... Okay. It goes 2 ways on this one. One, obviously, the Patriot fans, they want to see the Patriots turn things around because there's the narrative about the draft pick. And yes, Michael Bullock alluded to it earlier. There wasn't many Patriot fans that were very happy about the win last week. But if you're Kansas City, you got to stop the bleeding. Because not only is there a potential where you might not be the top, that you would literally lose out on the top seed, but all of a sudden, even your division lead now becomes dangerous. Like, we're talking straight trouble with what they're doing. So, New England, I think, will make a game out of it, but I think Kansas City will figure out a way and get the job done. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say. And Anthony, back to you.
All right. Final early game of week number 15. The Houston Texans squaring off against the Tennessee Titans. This game here is our number 6 game of the week. And this will be at Nissan Stadium in Nashville. First meeting between these AFC South divisional rivals, believe it or not. Spiro Ditas, Adam Archuleta, and Aditi Kinkabwala will be on the call for CBS. And the spread favors Tennessee. Yeah, wow. Am I reading that right? Yeah, Tennessee. Tennessee opening up as a 3.5-point favorite. That's a little surprising. But anyways, the spread here favors the season series favors Tennessee. Tennessee leads the all-time series 23-19. Last year in Nashville, Houston won 19-14. Matter of fact, Houston's won each of the last 2 years in Nashville. 19-14 last year and 22-13 in 21. Tennessee's last home win against Houston was in 2020, a wild 42-36 overtime win. So let's dive on into Houston and Tennessee here. The Titans have 10 passing plays of 40-plus yards this season, three-way tie for second place. Rookie quarterback Will Levis is responsible for 5 of them in his 7 starts. Houston's secondary is allowing 247 passing yards a game, which ranks 26th in the NFL. There should be opportunities for Levis to continue his success at home, where he has 647 passing yards and 5 touchdown passes in 3 games. Texans will rush for more than 200 yards on the ground. The Titans rank 14th in rushing yards allowed a game, 110, and the Texans rank 26th in rushing yards a game, 96. But if they want to win, the Texans have no choice but to commit to the ground game, with C.J. Stroud likely out because of a concussion. Titans running back Derrick Henry has at least 2 rushing touchdowns in 3 straight games for the second time in his career, which ties Jacksonville's Travis Etienne Jr. for the longest touch streak this season. No NFL player has rushed for multiple touchdowns in 4 straight games since Hall of Famer LaDainian Tomlinson did so in 8 consecutive games during his MVP season of 2006. The X factor is Texans cornerback Derek Stingley Jr. He has allowed minus 12.5 EPA as the nearest defender since Week 10, according to NFL Next Gen Stats, and he and the rest of the young Texan stars will present a challenge for Will Levis. What's at stake? All playoff eyes are on the Texans here, who would be at 58% to make the playoffs if they beat their division rival, but a loss drops them all the way down to 25% likelihood that Coach DeMeco Ryans' team plays extra football in his first season as head coach. Houston's chances to win the division can slide from 13% with a win all the way down to 2% with a loss. Tennessee receiver DeAndre Hopkins has averaged 8.5 targets and 17 fantasy points since the Texans' Week 7 bye. This season, the Texans' defense has given up the 7th most passing yards a game. It's also worth noting that Houston's defense has allowed the 9th most catches and 6th most receiving yards to opposing running backs, which bodes well for Titans running back Tyjae Spears. Titans are 2-6 outright, and against the spread against teams currently with winning records. 57%, the FPI, 57% for Houston by an average of 2.3 points. I'm going to take a chance and go with Houston in this one. I know the CJ Stroud thing is a big deal. My gut feeling tells me he goes, but if he goes, I got Tennessee winning 20. I got Houston winning 24-20. If he doesn't go, I might have to go with Tennessee, but I'm gonna go with Houston for now. But if CJ Stroud is out, then I don't know. So not much more to say here. MF, our number 6 game of the week.
I actually heard a while ago, Florio, that he's out.
Oh, well then give me Tennessee then. I'm actually gonna go with Tennessee to win. Because that means it's gonna be Davis Mills' team now. So oh boy.
Concussion, right? Just to confirm that he didn't pass concussion protocol.
Yes.
So Stroud is out then.
Oh no.
Change my pick. Tennessee wins.
Yep.
Tennessee wins 20. I got Tennessee win. I got to go with Tennessee now, and especially coming off that surprise win against MF's Dolphins Monday night in Miami. I got to go with Tennessee, 20-10. Now what, MF? Now what do you say?
I was gonna go the same way, but just because of that news, yeah, give me the Titans to win it. I don't think there's really anything more to add. So Florio, it's yours. Bullock.
Yeah, it was like hours ago. I got the information on the Bleacher Report that C.J. Stroud is out because he's still in the concussion protocol. So yeah, Davis Mills is going to get the start here, and yeah, I don't like the Texans' chances with Davis Mills as the starter because we've seen what happened when he's the starter, and he basically, well, let's just say he craps his pants, as I like to say. Well, there's a certain someone that at NBC Sports Boston would say that. I'm not going to mention his name, but yeah, because of that, and Tennessee coming off of that unbelievable win over the Miami Dolphins, I got to go with the Tennessee Titans to win this one as well. And I'm going to say this, guys. If Houston somehow misses the playoffs by just one game, I think you're going to look back at this game because no CJ Stroud and yet Davis Mills is the starter. They're going to look at this one as the reason why they don't make the playoffs.
Definitely. So there you have it. Breaking news: CJ Stroud out. So, all right. So with that, let's get into the late games now, and I do believe that MF will be starting off on our first late game. Unfortunately, it's our Zonk game of the week here. There's only 3 late games, 2 4:05 games on CBS, and a huge one, which is most worthy of the America's Game of the Week moniker for Fox. Started off on CBS 4:05, our Zonk game of the week. The San Francisco 49ers squaring off against the Arizona Cardinals from State Farm Stadium, formerly the University of Phoenix Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. I can't believe that Iron Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn got this game. Oh, boy. But it is what it is. San Francisco opening up as a 12.5-point favorite. Second meeting between these two division rivals. San Francisco dominated Arizona in San Fran, 35-16, the 1st of October. Adding to San Francisco's series lead, 35-29. They've now won 3 straight. Last year in Arizona, San Francisco won going away 38-10. Arizona's last win against San Fran at home was 2021, 17-10. MF, let me set the table here. Not really much to set up, but obviously not for Arizona, but more so for San Francisco, really, as I get my what's at stake here. 2 very different ends of the spectrum. For San Francisco, who would love a win to push them to a 63% chance to get that number 1 seed in the first round bye. If they somehow, God forbid, lose, it drops down all the way to 25%. And for Arizona, they actually do have something to play for. The number 1 pick in the draft. If they lose, 2% chance. So, but let's be realistic. San Francisco, if they win here, they literally control their own destiny when it comes to that number 1 seed in the NFC. So, MF, it's yours. You start off on our Zonk game of the week, San Fran and Arizona.
Yeah, no. San Fran's just a wagon right now, man. There's really nobody that's stopping them. They're without a doubt the best team in NFL today. And at the end of the day, I got to say, it's, I'll give it to the 49ers, man. I think they'll win this one and win this one pretty comfortably. So there's really nothing more to add. Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I'm with you, Fletch. I mean, San Francisco is just an absolute juggernaut right now, and I see them continuing with that. So San Fran wins in a laugher. It's yours, Florio.
Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray hasn't played the 49ers since October of 2021, a stretch of 4 games in more than 2 years because of injuries. The last time he lined up against San Francisco, he won. Murray is 2-2 since he returned from his ACL injury and refreshed coming off the bye. The Niners don't have any fresh tape of facing Murray, including tape of Murray in the Cardinals' new scheme, with the Niners potentially down some players on defense, especially in their front 7. Murray might have an opportunity to upset a potential Super Bowl team. Niners quarterback Brock Purdy will pass for more than 300 yards and 3 touchdowns for the 3rd time this season. Purdy was nearly perfect in the first meeting between these teams, throwing for 283 yards and a touchdown with only 1 incompletion. Given the state of Arizona's secondary, the Cardinals' inability to generate pass rush, 4th lowest pressure rate in the NFL, and the Niners' injuries on defense, this has the makings of a high-scoring game that allows Purdy to continue adding the counting stats that have him squarely in the conversation for NFL MVP. Brock Purdy has won his first 6 division games. That's tied for the 4th longest streak to begin a player's career since the merger in 1970. Should he win Sunday in Arizona, he can tie Ben Roethlisberger for the third longest streak. The X factor is Kyler Murray. Yes, he has delivered 2 wins in 4 games, but he has just a 50 QBR and a negative 5% completion percentage over expectation, per the NFL Next Gen stats. He's allowed some time to shake off the rust, but Murray should be better than those numbers suggest. We talked about the odds, so we move on to the fantasy. Niners running back Christian McCaffrey has averaged 21.4 touches and 24 fantasy points against the Cardinal defense. That gives up the second most fantasy points per game to running backs. McCaffrey could provide a matchup winning performance. Overs are 5-0-1 in Cardinals home games this season. San Francisco has the largest FPI of any team this week, 85% going with San Francisco by an average of almost 14 points. San Francisco wins 31-16. San Francisco all over Arizona. The other 4:05 game on CBS, the Washington Commanders squaring off against the Los Angeles Rams. Oh, and I forgot to mention, no, I did mention that. Yeah, Iron Eagle, Charles Davis, Evan Washburn for San Francisco, Arizona. All right. Washington Commanders, Los Angeles Rams, SoFi Stadium, Inglewood, California. On CBS, Tom McCarthy, James Lofton, Jay Feely, and Tiffany Blackman will have the call for that one. Rams opening up as a 6.5-point favorite. No surprise there. The series history between these two. I went a little over. All right, there it is. It favors the Washington Commanders. Washington leads the all-time series 24-12 with a tie. And the one tie was in 1967 in Los Angeles, 28-all. They last met in 2020 in Washington. The Rams won that game 30-10. Last meeting in Los Angeles, 2017. Washington won 27-20. The Rams haven't beaten Washington at home since they were the St. Louis Rams in 2012 in the old Dome in America Center, 31-28. Last time they beat Washington as the Los Angeles Rams in Los Angeles, 1993, 10-6. So there isn't much more to say here. Michael Bullock, you start this one off. San Fran and Arizona was our number 9 game of the week. This game trudging right behind as our number 8 game of the week here. The Commanders and the Rams. And as far as what's at stake is concerned, Rams have a big swing in play here. Win, and they have a 50% chance to make the playoffs. If they lose, 14%.
Yeah, so you could definitely say that this is definitely a must-win game for the Rams if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive. So, yeah, I just don't have any confidence with this Commanders team. So I'm going to go with the LA Rams to win this one. So it's yours, Florio.
Absolutely. Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford has thrown at least 3 touchdowns in 3 straight games, tied for the longest streak of his career. Commanders are the NFL's worst passing defense in DVOA and have allowed a league-high 30 passing touchdowns. Last Ram quarterback with a longer streak was Hall of Famer Kurt Warner, who had 4 such games during the Rams Super Bowl season of 1999, according to ESPN Stats and Information. Rams receiver Puka Nacua will have 3 20-yard plays Sunday, including 1 for a touchdown. He is 4th in the NFL with 21 catches of 20 yards or more, and their offense also ranks 4th in such plays. Meanwhile, Washington ranks last in passing yards allowed a game and has allowed the second most pass plays for 20 yards or more. With 2 more sacks on Sunday, Commanders quarterback Sam Howell will become the 4th different player, 5th instance of a quarterback taking at least 60 sacks through their first 14 games of a season. Howell has taken multiple sacks in all but 1 game this season, and that was Week 8 against Philadelphia. The X factor is Rams edge rusher Byron Young. The rookie has 6 sacks thus far and now has a good chance to get more, facing a team with a 10% sack rate, though Howell's sacks have come way down since the start of the year. Commanders defense gives up the second most fantasy points to quarterbacks. Wide receivers also score the second most fantasy points per game against Washington's defense. Commanders are 5-1 against the spread as road underdogs this season. Another high FPI. The Rams are the big FPI favorite here, 75%, going with the Rams by an average of 9 points. I'm going to go with the LA Rams to win this one, 33-19. Rams over Washington. And MF, as I give it to you, I believe the Rams will bounce back and get it right after that. Oh, that tough luck, demoralizing loss to Baltimore. And boy, did they hang with Baltimore, man.
They should have won that game. They let that was a golden opportunity for them, and it went all kinds of wrong. So yeah, no doubt about it. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say it's gonna be an interesting game, to say the very least. But you're right, guys. I got the Rams winning as well, so there's really nothing more to add. So Florio, it is yours.
Gentlemen, are you ready for the big double main event?
Let's do it.
Here we go. And I say that because the next two games are the top games of the week on both sides of the ledger. We start with the other side of the ledger. America's game of the week on Fox. 4:25 kickoff. As it will feature the Dallas Cowboys squaring off against my Buffalo Bills, Highmark Stadium, Orchard Park, New York. America's game of the week on Fox. You already know who's doing it. Kevin Burkhardt, Greg Olsen, Aaron Andrews, Tom Rinaldi. And believe it or not, friends, Buffalo is actually opening up as a 2-point favorite. Can you believe that? Buffalo, 2-point favorite. Dallas, however, leads the regular season series 6-5. Of course, we all know about those 2 Super Bowls. And me as a Bills fan, if anybody ever brings that up to me, I simply say to you, we don't talk about those Super Bowls. We don't.
Yeah.
So I will gladly talk with you about the regular season, though. Dallas only leads that 6-5. And on top of that, Buffalo has actually won the last 2 meetings in a row against Dallas. The last one, MF, you and I should know, we had it Thanksgiving 2019.
Yep.
Buffalo went into Dallas and beat Dallas 26-15. Last meeting in Buffalo was 2015. Buffalo won that game 16-6. Dallas's last win in Buffalo came in 2007 on a wild and crazy Monday night game. I remember that one very vividly. Tony Romo threw like 5 picks in that game, and yet they still won. Hard to believe. 25-24, Dallas won that game on that wild and crazy Monday night in 2007. A game I still believe to this day Buffalo should have won, but that's another story. But here we go, guys. This is it. This is a big game for both teams, given the playoff implications involved. But this game could very well come down to which defense dealing with injuries can make more stops against offenses with the potential to put up big points. The Cowboys' offense leads the NFL in points per game at 32, while Buffalo is 5th at just about 27. Bills quarterback Josh Allen will lead the Bills in rushing against the Cowboys and push for 100 yards. The Cowboys are one of 7 teams not to allow a 100-yard rusher this season. Excuse me. But they have had issues with quarterbacks. 5 times, quarterbacks have had more than 30 yards rushing against Dallas, including 55 from Joshua Dobbs in a Week 3 loss to Arizona. Without nose tackle Jonathan Hankins, the Cowboys' run defense has a hole to fill, and Josh Allen will take advantage. Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott has multiple passing touchdowns in 7 straight games, tied with Tony Romo for the second longest streak in Cowboys history. Hall of Famer Don Meredith had 12 straight from 1965 to 66. The X factor is Cowboys defensive tackle Osa Odigizua. Quietly, he's having a huge season as a pass rusher. He has just 3 sacks, but his 20% pass rush win rate at defensive tackle puts him second at that position behind only the LA Rams' Aaron Donald. What's at stake? It's a big one here, friends. In Dallas, a win would mean it has a 44% chance to win the NFC East and a 19% chance to finish with the number 1 seed. A loss, 20% chance to win the NFC East and a 3% chance to get the number 1 seed. Buffalo. The Bills could be chasing not only the playoffs, which would be, with a win, 66%, but also a 4th straight AFC East division title. 34% if they win. If they lose, their playoff hopes go down to 30%, and their division title hopes 13%. The Cowboys secondary has allowed the fifth fewest passing yards per game to opponents. Bills are 2-7 against the spread in their last 9 games. Unders are 5-1 in the Bills' last 6 games. Gentlemen, this is the closest FPI of the week. It's Dallas, but listen to this, guys. You ready for this? 50.3% for Dallas by an average of 0.2 points. Think about that for a minute. It's very tough to call, but I'm gonna level with you. If this game was in Dallas, I would go with Dallas all day because Dallas has been so damn dominant at home this year. With this game being in Buffalo, and with the way the Bills have been playing the last couple of weeks, which has me believing again, especially after that miracle win in Kansas City last week, which I still can't believe they did. I think Buffalo can do it. I got a good feeling. But would I be surprised if Dallas won? No, I wouldn't. I believe in my team. And if they can keep this up, hey, MF. Now, but you're going to the Buffalo your next again. You thought, oh, we got this thing. This thing's in the bag. Yeah, no. Don't tell us that. I believe, my friends. I believe. Last week put me over the top. If they can beat Kansas City in Kansas City, I know Dallas has been great, but the thing is, Dallas has been so great at home, undefeated, dominant. But this game's in Buffalo, not Dallas. Buffalo wins. 27-23. Buffalo wins. So not much more to say. MF. Huge game on both sides of the ledger. It is imperative for both of these teams to win, regardless of their playoff hopes.
Yep. And it's going to come down to that one game. It could decide who, because if you're Buffalo, you need to win out in order to have a shot at the AFC East. And that's the ultimate goal for them. They would need Miami to continue to slip up, and they just have to win out in order to win the division. Where if you're Dallas, you now have a leg up where you can win the NFC East, and you got to keep Philly at bay. So you need this game more than ever before. So yes, this is a heavyweight championship fight. This is one of those matchups that we're looking forward to. Look, and I get the narrative about Buffalo. You know, you can even say very, very, very openly, Buffalo was very fortunate to win that game against Kansas City. You know, that if it wasn't for that call, even though it was the right call, it was definitely a penalty. But if that would have been a touchdown, I don't think Buffalo comes back and wins that game. So obviously, you've seen what Buffalo's done against the really good teams. You had against Philadelphia, lost in overtime. Went up against Kansas City on the road, won that game. But if I remember correctly, the last time Buffalo played at home, wasn't that the game against Denver? Wasn't that the game where they lost to the Broncos? That embarrassing Monday night?
It was the first game after they fired Ken Dorsey and brought in Joe Brady when they blew away the Jets.
They blew away the Jets. But that's the thing. Is it, but the thing was, the Jets are the Jets. I think we all can relate to that. Like I said, they're in the meat of the order for the AFC right now. And they still got some good big matchups down the line. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, would I be surprised if Buffalo wins? No, I'm not. I wouldn't. But this is one of those where, and I think a lot of people are saying, nobody really thinks Dallas is going to win this game. And that might be dangerous because of the fact that Dallas came off one of their biggest wins of the season. And yes, I get it. You know, they're undefeated at home, but they lost to Arizona on the road, and they lost to the Niners on the road. Those are the and then the Eagles.
And Philly.
So I mean,
Philly on the road too.
Yeah. So
all three losses on the road, undefeated at home, but this game's not in Dallas; it's in Buffalo. Different animal.
Yeah, different animal. But the thing is that when you're going up against a team that's won 4 in a row, 33, 45, 41, 33 in the last 4 games, do you honestly think Buffalo can keep up with that Dallas offense? Can they? Honestly? Truthfully?
I'll admit it. Tall order.
So
I'll openly admit it.
That's the problem I have. I mean, yes, if Buffalo wins that game, it helps them. But let's be realistic. If Buffalo loses, it's a death nail. Kiss the AFC East goodbye if Buffalo loses this game. If they lose this game, that AFC East is over. There's no way Buffalo gets back or comes back. Because all Miami would need to do at that point is just win one of their next 3, and it's a wrap. So if you're Buffalo, you need this game. If you're Dallas, they need it too. But I know what they're thinking. I'm sick and tired of the narrative. I'm sick and tired of everybody saying that, because what's the one thing you've been hearing? Oh, Dallas is great, but the shoe's about to drop. When's the other shoe going to drop? When are they going to slip? When are they going to go down? When are they going to do this? You're looking at a freaking Super Bowl caliber team, the Dallas Cowboys. And for the first time in a long time, Dallas has a legit shot at the Super Bowl. No doubt. I don't see it with Buffalo. I don't. I'm sorry. Don't get me started. I don't see it with them. I don't see it with Kansas City. I don't. Miami had the shot. We blew that when we lost to Tennessee. There's only right now 2 teams. Actually, there's only 1 team in the AFC that legitimately is Super Bowl worthy. We'll get to them I think in a little bit, if we already haven't. But that's one. For the NFC, I know a lot of people's like Niners. I'm not convinced. The team that's playing Buffalo has all the makings and all of the details of a Super Bowl caliber team. I'm sorry. I don't give a shit. I'm going with Dallas to win. So I think Dallas wins it. I think they go into Buffalo and they beat the Bills. I think they end the Bills' run right then and there. I think their dream of the AFC East is done. I still believe Buffalo still has a shot at making the playoffs, because you got the Chargers that's in a complete rebuild. You got New England.
No Justin Herbert. So
yeah, that's like that. Complete rebuild. That's a winnable game.
And then New England,
that's a winnable game.
They got a receipt coming.
And then Miami, and there's a receipt coming for Buffalo for what happened earlier in the year.
You damn right.
So that's where I think everything goes. But then again, If Miami already won the division, I don't think you're going to see the receipt. So, Dallas wins, Bullet go.
Man, so I got the tiebreaker here. So this is a tough one to call. I mean, I could see going either way. So who do I go with? I'm sorry, Anthony Florio. I know you really want me to go with the Buffalo Bills, but Dallas is just, and Fletch has brought it up. They've scored so many points these last few weeks. That's why they're on a roll. And they're one of the favorites to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I don't know. I mean, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion only, I still think San Francisco is the favorite. But then again, you can also make the case for Philadelphia. But Dallas is indeed in that conversation, no doubt about it. But the way they've been playing, I'm sorry, I'm with MF. I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys to win this one. So sorry for you're lone wolfing this one for this week. So there's really nothing more to say except let's. I think Sunday Night Football's next.
The other half of our big double main event. Absolutely. So here we go, gentlemen. Our game of the week, the game of the week on our side of the ledger, the Tony Mikey special. Here we go. The Baltimore Ravens squaring off against the Jacksonville Jaguars, TIAA Banks Field in Jacksonville, Sunday Night Football on NBC. Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth, and Melissa Stark will be on the call for that one. Baltimore opening up as a 3-point favorite. Jacksonville, however, leads the all-time series 13-10. They met in Jacksonville last year. Jacksonville won a wild one, 28-27. Last time the Ravens won in Jacksonville was 2016, 19-17. So, and what's at stake here? And why is this our game of the week? Well, here's why. The Ravens odds in the AFC North swing between 80% if they lose, 94% if they win. But they will also be interested in the number one seed in the AFC. They win, 68% odds at that number one seed. If they lose, it goes all the way down to 30%. Jacksonville looks good to take the AFC South if they get a win, 95%, as opposed to 79% if they lose. But their number one seed hopes would still be just 13%, even if they win Sunday night. So there isn't anything else left more to say. So MF, come on in, man. This is it. The Tony Mikey special, our game of the week right here. Sunday Night Football, Baltimore and Jacksonville. So we set it up here. So, okay. Just wanted to check one thing. All right, MF, come on in. Here we go. Our game of the week, Baltimore, Jacksonville. Huge implications for both. A little more for Baltimore, though, not only with the AFC North, but right now, after your Dolphins surprise loss Monday night, they now control their own destiny when it comes to that number one seed in the AFC. And as to Phil Simms to my Jim Nance, you know how to do it. Do that thing I like, baby. Hello, friends.
Yeah, this is it. This can actually defy the season if you're the Baltimore Ravens. Now, like you said, they're in the driver's seat. They just have to win out, and they win the number one seed, home field throughout the playoffs, and all roads to the Super Bowl goes through Baltimore. That's a huge thing to have. But the thing is, for Jacksonville, they still have a shot at the number one seed. They're still the division leaders. They can win they can't win the division this week, but they would put themselves in position to win it next week. In the clutching scenario there. If you're Baltimore, you're one step closer if you get this. But the thing is this. The Ravens did not look good, and they were very fortunate to have won that game last week. And if you're Jacksonville, you let a game get away. That performance is not good enough. They all know that. And I bet you anything, Doug Peterson got in the ear of Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, and the boys and say, look, we let one get away. Now we have a chance to really do some damage in the AFC. We could re-solidify ourselves, get a game back, and put ourselves in position to win the AFC again. We're just going to have to run the table. If you're Baltimore, yeah, you're thinking we got away. We were very fortunate with the way that we won in overtime, the whole 9 yards. I don't think Baltimore, they can't afford another loss. They cannot afford that loss because if they lose and Miami wins, Miami leapfrogs them and regains the number 1 seed in the AFC. And you instantly throw Miami back into that realm of they control their own destiny again. So that's exactly the situation that we're looking at. So honestly and truthfully, we all know in about 3 weeks that's going to decide who gets number 1 in the AFC, because Miami goes to Baltimore, and that could end up being a primetime game. I'm just saying, I think that could get flexed.
It is also going to be our game of the week, of course.
Yeah. So whatever the case may be, we're going to have to wait and see. Just for the mere fact that I preferred the chaos and craziness, I'm going to go with Jacksonville to win this, even though, like I said, they got to play 1,000 times better than they did last week against Cleveland. And I think Jacksonville will. I think they're going to answer the bell. And they're at home. I think the Jaguars pull the upset and cause a lot of chaos in the AFC. Anybody thought that this AFC race was over and done with? Get ready for another major twist coming. I think the Jaguars is gonna be feasting on a Raven on Sunday night. So give me Jacksonville to stun the Ravens, and I'll go 28-23. Jacksonville stuns the Baltimore Ravens and basically puts them right back in play for the number 1 seed, and like I said, cause a lot of chaos in the AFC playoff picture. So, Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, this is going to be a real good game. This could, like you said, for the Ravens, that could determine if they hold on to that number 1 seed, while Jacksonville, I mean, they need to play better if they want to hold on to potentially winning that division. So this is a big game here. So this is another tough one for me to call. I mean, this is one that could go either way, but I gotta go with the Baltimore Ravens to win this one. Jacksonville's gonna make a game of it, no doubt about it. But I just think in the end, it's gonna be the Ravens who win this one. So, all right, it's up to you, Florio. You break the tie. Who you got?
Wow. You're absolutely right. This is a tough one. Let me do as I always do here, guys. 1 week after facing the top-ranked defense in Cleveland, the Jaguars get the number 2 defense with the Ravens. Baltimore leads the league in sacks with 49, which is not good for a Jaguars offensive line on its 4th left tackle and 3rd left guard because of injuries. Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence has been sacked 31 times this season, which is 1 shy of his career high set in 2021. Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson will throw for more than 300 yards in back-to-back games for only the 2nd time in his career. Jackson ranks 16th in the NFL with 226 passing yards a game, but he threw for 316 yards last week against the LA Rams. Jaguars have allowed 265 passing yards a game, 2nd worst in the NFL, and have given up 300 yards through the air in each of their last 3 games to Houston's C.J. Stroud, Cincinnati's Jake Browning, and Cleveland's Joe Flacco. Jaguars running back Travis Etienne Jr. has been held under 100 rushing yards in 8 straight games, longest streak in his career. He needs 1 rushing touchdown to be the first Jaguar player with 10 rushing touchdowns in a season since the great Maurice Jones-Drew in 2009 when he had 15. The X Factor, Ravens pass rushers Jadeveon Clowney, Odafe Owa, and Justin Matabuki. The Jaguars have the 30th ranked pass block win rate, 48% in the NFL, and Baltimore's defense, with all of its simulated pressures, should be able to take advantage. We already know what's at stake. So let's get to the fantasy numbers. For fantasy managers, Zay Flowers is trending up at the perfect time. In 2 consecutive games, the Ravens receiver has had 8 or more targets and scored 20 or more fantasy points. In the last 4 weeks, the Jaguars' defense has allowed the 4th most fantasy points a game to wide receivers. Also, Jacksonville's defense gives up the 3rd most fantasy points a game to quarterbacks, which bodes well for Lamar Jackson. Jaguars are 7-3 against the spread in their last 10 games. FPI likes Baltimore in this one, guys. 64% going with the Baltimore Ravens by an average of almost 5 points. I got to go with the Baltimore Ravens. I got to go with Baltimore to win. Sorry, MF. I got to go with Bullock on this one. 28-24. Baltimore defeats Jacksonville. Final game of the night, the new Monday Night Football game. This was originally slated to be a 4:25 game on Fox, but because of this game being flexed to Monday night in favor over Kansas City and New England, this gets the spot. The new Monday Night Football game for this week, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Seattle Seahawks from Lumen Field in Seattle. Monday Night Football on ESPN, Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Lisa Salters. Philadelphia opening up as only a 3-point favorite here. Seattle leads the all-time series 11-7, but here's the interesting thing here, gentlemen. Seattle, including playoffs, has won 7 straight meetings with Philadelphia. And Seattle won in Philadelphia in their last meeting in 2020, 23-17. Their last meeting in Seattle was 2017. Seattle won 24-10. Philadelphia hasn't beaten Seattle in Seattle and overall since 2008, 26-7. And Michael Bullock, I'll set you up. I'll set the table for you here. What's at stake? Philly. Philly is suddenly fending off Dallas in the NFC East, though a win would help its case here. Eagles would have an 81% chance to win the division, while a loss would make it a 50-50 endeavor. Top seed implications here are Philadelphia either being at 44% with a win or 10% with a loss. And then for Seattle, amid a tough stretch in their schedule, their playoff chances would be steady at 46% with a win, but only 11% if they lose. So, Bullock, Philadelphia and Seattle, take it home.
Yeah, Philadelphia hasn't played well in back-to-back games, and all of a sudden you hear the people in Philadelphia thinking, could we be in trouble? Could we not be heading back to another Super Bowl? But, yeah, I mean, they really got to right the ship here. And this could be a huge opportunity for the Seahawks. I mean, but I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles to bounce back and to win this game. But I would not at all be surprised if Seattle somehow pulls this one off. So it's yours, Florio.
It's a matchup of 2 of the leading candidates for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Seahawks cornerback Devon Witherspoon, 5th overall pick, 3 sacks, 16 passes defensed, and a 97-yard pick 6 on his resume. Eagles defensive tackle Jalen Carter, chosen 4 spots after Witherspoon, has 4 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, and the 4th best pass rush win rate among interior defenders. With a national audience watching Monday night, this game could go a long way in determining the Defensive Rookie of the Year winner. Seattle rookie receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba will set a career high in receiving yards. Eagles pass defense, ranked 28th in the NFL, is particularly vulnerable over the middle. Smith-Njigba lines up in the slot on 67% of his snaps, per NFL Next Gen stats, and has a good shot at generating an explosive play or two and surpassing his previous high of 63 yards. Seahawks are 13-4 on Monday Night Football under their coach Pete Carroll. Only the Pittsburgh Steelers have a better winning percentage on Monday Night Football since 2010. A 15-3 record. The X factor is Seahawks wide receiver Tyler Lockett. He's having a down year with just 2 yards per route run. He was at 2.1 excuse me. He was at 2.1 in 2022 and 2.5 in 2021, respectively. And Seattle's going to need his incredible deep ball ability to pull off this upset. Seattle running backs Kenneth Walker III and Zach Charbonnet have a difficult matchup against an Eagle defense that allows the fewest fantasy points a game to running backs. Seahawks are more likely to lean on the passing game against Philadelphia. Eagles defense gives up the most fantasy points a game to wide receivers. 5 straight Eagles games following a loss have gone under the total. FPI likes Philadelphia here, 58% by an average of almost 3 points. I got Philly winning with a late score to put it away. 31-21, Philadelphia defeats Seattle. There's nothing left for me to say except take us home, MF.
There's really not much more for us to add here. I got the Philadelphia Eagles, and Florio, let's call it a night.
All right, and with that will put the bow on this Week 15 edition of TXN Sports World NFL Friday. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in and hanging with us for all this time. I know it was a lot, but we did it, guys. So let's set the table for future content. Tomorrow night, of course, we got the Cerebral Smack Talk over on MF's channel, Brace Fan 95. Friday night SmackDown and AEW Collision. Monday night, we got Ridiculously Raw, Do It All Again. Monday Night Raw, and along with my Tony's take on Impact Wrestling and NXT Level Up. Wednesday Night Madness, MF will have it. NXT, AEW Dynamite. Thursday Night Football preview, New Orleans Saints against the Los Angeles Rams is the matchup. A lot better than the last one. And on this program, 1 week from tonight, week number 16, notable games, the Cincinnati Bengals against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Indianapolis Colts against the Atlanta Falcons, Cleveland Browns against the Houston Texans, Seattle Seahawks against the Tennessee Titans, Jacksonville Jaguars against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Another big double main event next week, guys. America's Game of the Week on Fox, the Dallas Cowboys and the Miami Dolphins. And, of course, the Christmas triple header, Vegas Raiders against the Kansas City Chiefs. And, of course, our Game of the Week next week, MF. Oh, boy, do we have a good one on Christmas night. Merry Christmas to us. We're gonna have the Baltimore Ravens and the San Francisco 49ers in a possible Super Bowl preview next week. Let's go. So that's it. So until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk, over on MF's channel, Brace Fan 95, this is Anthony Florio here for good old MF Michael Fletcher, for Michael Bullock, and in spirit, always and forever, the First Lady Dee Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up 14-4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Saturday. And until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk, you've been watching the Week 15 edition of TXN Sports World NFL Friday right here on Zone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who has been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long, and bye, everybody, bye.